Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your Friday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. An update tonight, more than 1 year after a Missoula man opened fire, shooting 4 people in western Montana. Today, the 2 surviving victims, including Montana Highway Patrol Trooper Wade Palmer, were in the Missoula District Courtroom as their attacker changed his plea. Jonathan Birch pleaded guilty to several charges this morning, including deliberate homicide.
So as to count 1, deliberate homicide, how do you plead?
Guilty.
As to count 2, attempted deliberate homicide, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Birch is charged with 2 separate shootings within hours that killed 2 people and critically wounded 2 others, including Trooper Palmer. In the first attack, Birch killed Shelley Hayes and wounded Casey Blanchard and his mother, Julie. That was off of the Expressway Boulevard in Missoula. Now, several hours later, Birch ambushed Trooper Palmer in Evero, Montana, shooting him several times in the head, leaving Palmer with traumatic brain injury. Casey's mother, Julie Blanchard, died 3 months later from complications of multiple gunshot wounds. Now, the Missoula County Attorney's Office might be seeking a venue change to accommodate all the people who may want to attend the sentencing when it is officially scheduled. Well, as coronavirus cases are on the rise, today the state reports another COVID-19 related death, and Bighorn County makes a major move to protect its people. State health officials attribute the latest death to a case connected to Rosebud County. 29 new cases are reported today, bringing the total active cases to 218. Yellowstone and Bighorn counties each have 34 active cases this evening. In response, today Bighorn County health officials ordered all residents to wear face masks outside their homes. Well, Q2's David J. is standing by now live in the Q2 newsroom with details on that order. David.
Well, Jeanelle, the recent increases in COVID-19 led to health officials making this decision on the mask order. The order officially states that people in Bighorn County must wear masks when outside their home, and wearing a mask will be necessary within 6 feet of another person. Wearing masks, they do have some exceptions. Wearing it will be necessary, but some exceptions in writing. If a health care provider directs otherwise, or an employer sees the mask as endangering health and welfare. Also, children under the age of 2 will not need masks because of the risk of suffocation. And if they need to communicate with someone who is hearing impaired, they can also remove that mask. Temporary removal is all right if necessary to perform a service outdoors with at least 6 feet of distancing.
This was a very tough decision. We debated it for at least 2 hours back and forth. We knew that it was going to be some heartburn for certain people, that we were going to get some enforcement questions. And I keep saying enforcement for a type of order like this is going to be peer pressure and knowing yourself that you're doing the right thing. And some of that is the only way you're going to get compliance. This is one way to get a handle on it. We don't necessarily want to go backwards. We want to try to protect the public's interest by this face mask order.
And we just heard from the Bighorn County attorney who supports wearing masks, but states in a news release about the order that it does not meet sufficiency under the law for judicial enforcement and categorically is unenforceable. The release also states the Bighorn County attorney is formally advising and cautioning any further action to seek enforcement of the order as written. Jeanelle?
All right, Q2's David J. Thank you. Well, just as this order is announced, some groups in Gallatin County were already at work to help the Crow tribe. Hope Mountain partnered with the Pilgrim United Church of Christ in Bozeman and invited the community to donate masks, cleaning supplies, tents, and other vital items for the tribe. The group's overwhelmed with the community support and turnout. Beyond the physical need, organizers say it was about building and nurturing relationships.
To feel like you're not alone in this. You know, sometimes when we're on the reservation, it's like we're in our own space, and to know that it's not like that. It's that everyone from all over is caring and wanting to support them and to provide whatever they can.
Now, the group say, if nothing else, COVID-19 has brought out a lot of good in people. Well, if you've heard of a so-called face mask exempt card, like the one on your screen, it's a scam. No one is exempt from wearing a face mask, but the U.S. Department of Justice says a group called Freedom to Breathe Agency is handing them out. It is not a federal or state agency, just a Facebook group trying to stop face mask orders. Now, the cards are laminated with a picture of an eagle on them. They even reference the Department of Justice and Americans with Disabilities Act. The Blackfeet Tribal Council is closing the eastern border of Glacier National Park into the Blackfeet Reservation for the remainder of the 2020 season. According to Blackfeet COVID-19 Incident Command, the closure of the border is to protect residents of the Blackfeet Nation. Well, the all-male primary election turned out a lot of Montana voters. Today, state legislators found out how that election panned out for the state's Native American communities. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian reports.
On Friday, the State Tribal Relations Interim Committee held a virtual meeting taking a look at how the major changes to this month's primary election affected voting in Montana's tribal areas. Because of concerns about COVID-19, the state gave counties the option to switch to all-mail ballots, and all counties took that option. 4 election administrators from counties with large Indian populations reported turnout had been close to usual or higher compared to previous primaries. But advocates told lawmakers they also heard about issues with the mail ballot system, including people with questions about the 3-party ballots they received, and reports that a number of voters didn't receive their mail ballots at all. Leaders say in Indian country there are additional challenges with mail ballots because many people don't get mail to their homes, and multiple people may share post office boxes. Representative Sharon Stewart Paragoy, a Democrat from Crow Agency, says she found her own ballot had been mailed to the wrong place.
If we're going to go all mail ballot again, then we have to do everything we can to make sure that people have the opportunity to vote. If the system is broken or somehow the information is not getting out there, then we need to work on it because it is a constitutional right.
In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Thanks, Jonathan. Now, the committee also looked at possible draft bills on the issue of missing Indigenous people, including extending the state missing persons task force for 2 more years. Now, lawmakers say they're interested in the ideas, but it may be difficult to get funding next year when state revenue is expected to be low. Well, the state's top political cop says the Montana Republican Party and an affiliated group broke the law. Commissioner of Political Practices Jeff Mangan says the GOP and a group called Montanans for Conservation did not accurately reveal how they spent $100,000 to place the Green Party on the ballot. They paid the money to a firm called Advanced Micro-Targeting to gather signatures. MTN News first reported the efforts in late March and that the Green Party itself had nothing to do with it. The Montana Democratic Party says the GOP tried to conceal its efforts to use the Green Party to influence the November election. The Republican Party says it will contest the findings and that it did properly report its spending. The Montana GOP says the Democratic Party has actively suppressed the Green Party activity in the past and that it felt that Montana voters should be given more choices on their ballots. Well, life stands to change for a lot of people in the United States, depending on how the Supreme Court rules next week. Scholarships, voting, abortion rights, and whether the president must turn over his tax returns all are set to be decided. One of those cases changes the separation of church and state. Now, that case is out of Montana, which bans in its constitution public aid to religious schools. Similar bans exist in 38 states. The Supreme Court ruling would allow students in religious schools the ability to seek private scholarships funded through state income tax credits. Now, the Supreme Court will also determine next week if President Trump must turn over his tax returns. Ahead on tonight's 5:30 News, for college students, hands-on learning is priceless but quickly disappeared because of coronavirus. But now one local student is back on track with her story. And grab your gear for 3 days of high-flying hill climb action. Scott joins us later from the Nitro Nationals in Columbus.
And coming up in weather, hope you enjoyed today's sunshine. And part of tomorrow is going to be sunny, but look at the rain moving in Saturday night. And then again on Sunday, heavy showers and thunderstorms moving in. We'll tell you all about it coming up.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.